AAON, we aren't afraid of taking risks or doing what no one else is doing. We are a group of great people doing great things. Innovation, empowerment, sustainability, partnerships, perseverance. This is all part of our DNA. Since 1988, we have been pioneering a new way in HVAC solutions, and we want to share our stories with you. Expect a diverse range of episodes, from technical deep dives to uplifting stories, along with insightful discussions about the HVAC industry landscape as we see it at AAON. This is a deeper look inside AAON.
Welcome to Inside AAON. My name is Derby and I'm your host for today. On this series of episodes, we are going to be talking about our industry, our company, our products, and so much more, including stories about our amazing people here at AAON. When discussing this project, we talked about maybe most of you or many people in our audience that are new to the world of podcasting. So we want to do this not only for you, but with you. So we want to hear from you. Give us your feedback, your comments, your questions, your rude remarks. We learn from those.
Send those to Derby's personal email.
Absolutely. I can learn from them. I have no problem with that. But most importantly, topics, any ideas that you may have. Is there a subject matter expert that you want us to bring? Let us know and we'll go from there. Okay. So I want to start by introducing to you my amazing co-host for today, Whitney Tapp. She's our marketing content producer. Whitney, say hi.
Hi.
And to my right, I have Mark Fly, a man that does not need an introduction. Mark, thank you for being here and welcome to AAON Insight.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's what I do, right?
Absolutely. Yes, you go around and talk and we love that. We really appreciate it. Mark, you are the executive director of the NAIC. You are an ASHRAE fellow and lifetime member, as well as a distinguished lecturer. Is there anything that you don't do?
Well, that just means I go around and tell stories. Right?
That's excellent. Could you share with us and the audience, what does the executive director of the NAIC does at AAON?
Well, I had that title because basically when I was director of engineering, then I was director of R&D and lab services. So basically I built the lab. It's my second lab that I've built in my lifetime. I got the opportunity, thanks to Norm, to build the largest reverberation room in the world twice, the second time at AAON. So to do sound testing. So really, I've always been just the chief lab rat, I guess. So that's kind of the reason I got that title. Now, as I'm getting close to the end of my career, I've succession planned most of my jobs away. And so today, mostly what I do is mentoring and education, and I travel 2 to 3 weeks a month from September through May, doing talks at ASHRAE chapters under the ASHRAE Distinguished Lecturer Program. And while I'm in town, hanging out with reps and doing lunch and learns and rep training and anything else I can be useful for the reps. So
I think it's fascinating. Just following you on LinkedIn, it makes me tired because every week you're in a different city, in a different country sometimes.
Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? But it's Smart Fly.
Where
did you fly to today?
Yeah, it's a wonderful gig. You can get somebody to pay you for it, and it's lots of fun because it's kind of like my farewell tour. I get to go around and see all my friends.
Nice.
Because the HVAC industry, as we've talked before, is extremely small. There's only 1 degree of separation. If you don't know somebody, you know somebody that knows them. I tell student groups that there's only 24 of us. We all know each other, but that's obviously exaggeration. But it is very, very small, and it's a very small industry. As really, when you get in deep in most industries, they are like that. So.
Well, we have enjoyed very much listening to your lectures. For the audience, if they don't know, not only you go around the country talking and teaching, but you also do it for us here at AAON. And one of the subjects that you talk about, we're all very familiar with it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's
fortunately,
right?
Maybe more than others.
Absolutely. But that's the word failure. Yeah. And I would say the majority of the people agree with the movie Apollo 13 that says the failure is not an option. I mean, in fact, when you we go to school as young kids. It's either pass or fail, good or bad. But you preach something slightly different. Sometimes you talk about failure, and I'm sure you're being humorous about it, but you talk about being welcome, embraced. So I want to hear from your voice and your experience. What is failure, but also how does it relate to success?
I use the term failure to get everybody's attention, right? That's what
I figure so.
But I mean, really what I'm talking about is taking risks and you know, not to be risk averse. Because if you want to be really successful, you have to try things. And a lot of them aren't going to work out. You know, remember that 500 is a good batting average in baseball. So that means you failed half the time, right? So,
So you're doing good.
So you know, it's really important. Now there are different types of failure. There's kind of operational failures, the things that you have to do. When you fill out your tax forms, it's very important that you do that right. The U.S. government comes after you if you don't. So, you know, if there's certain things that have certain procedures or things that you already know how to do and you fail over and over again, then you won't stay employed at your current employer or you won't be successful at your job for very long, you know. Sure. But the willingness, everyone has opportunities to innovate. There's always ways to do things better in whatever job you are, no matter how boring a job it is, sweeping the street or whatever. There's always opportunities to innovate. And so trying new things and not being afraid to try new things, and sometimes they won't work. And sometimes they can cause some damage too.
So sounds like there's good failure and bad failure.
So there's good failure and bad failure. So experimental failure is good. Okay. Operational failure, not doing things that you know how to do, that there's a procedure for, is a bad failure. That's from not paying attention or not following directions or just being sloppy, right? And that's a bad failure. You don't want to do that. But taking risk and trying something new and it not working out is fine. As a matter of fact, most things that were invented in the world were invented by accident, right?
Yeah. I go back to like when I was in college, I had this job going door to door. I used to sell internet and TV.
You were that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy. Knock on the door and you hide away. But I quickly realized that the no's, when people say, no, we don't want that, even if it was a hard no, I took it as a failure and it will be hard. But then I realized quickly that I needed several no's to get to a yes. And it was very mathematically. Like I needed 6 or 7 no's to get to a yes.
I would have been that yes. A guy totally got me with the fiber cable last year.
Was it me?
Did you do tax last year?
So taking risk and going failure by failure, you end up with success. So could you say that failure is something necessary to reach success?
Well, I think failure is something that's necessary, I think, to reach success. And if you want to be innovative, if you want to innovate, if you want to be a leader, and, you know, it's kind of defines on how you define success, right? Yeah. But one of the interesting characteristics, our boss, the CEO of AAON, Gary Fields, who I've known my whole life, basically, he made his first sales call on me in 1981. So
did he get the sale?
Oh yeah. and so, you know, be careful who you make mad. You may end up working for him someday. Mm-hmm. You know, that was back in 1981. But, you know, Gary's attitude toward failure is he's never failed. It's always was just a step in getting there, you know. And so some people approach it that way. I always say, well, you know,
like Edison. Where it's like what's his quote? The 10,000 ways.
I know 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb, right?
Yeah.
So, and, you know, Winston Churchill said that, you know, success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. You know,
it's a good way to look at it.
And so, you know, it's, you know, you really need to keep trying, and you know, it's really taking risks and perseverance that wins out. So I learned very early in life that I didn't have to be the smartest or most talented person in the world if I was willing to work harder than anybody else. If I was willing to put more hours in, if I was willing to work harder. And that's worked for me my whole career. So, you know, I've never been afraid of hard work. I think my dad beat that into me. I'm a baby boomer, so my dad was a World War II veteran, and that's part of the characteristic of my generation, right?
Yeah,
is that we what's work-life balance? We don't know what that is.
I
don't understand that.
Neither do I.
So, but that's part of the sacrifice you make to be successful. If you look at our founder, Norm, I mean, AAON was him and he was AAON. That's it was his company. He started it when he was 50 years old, ran it until his mid to late 80s, and all in. He was there every day, walking the floor every day, and he didn't really have a job. He just walked around and talked to people all day, chewed on them, prodded them, pushed them. Yeah. But, he was extremely successful.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. You said when I asked you if you need to have failure and to have success, you kind of thought a little bit and you said, well, you have to have failure to be innovative. And yeah, you can have success, I guess, being very safe and doing what other people have done already. But if you want to be innovative and you want to be the AAON of your industry, you have to take risks. Could you tell us or give us an example a little bit?
I don't really think that you'll be successful if you don't take risks. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to do that. No one's going to notice you, right? Yeah. That's what happens. I mean, if you'll stay at the lowest level, and there's lots of people. I've hired lots of people. I've had lots of people working for me in my lifetime. And, there are people that you can look at and say, well, they're going to be a draftsman. They're going to be a draftsman the rest of their life. That's all the ambition they want. They want to come in, work, come in at 8, don't be between them and the door at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And then they're going fishing on the weekends. And that's what they live for. And they're happy with that. And that's the income they're I was never happy with that. I always wanted to say, I want to be the best I can be. Sure. I want to do something different. I want to make a difference in the world. And if you're that person, you got to be willing to work for it.
Yeah, and to clarify, I think it's great both sides, and you need to have both type of people in a business to succeed. So
you need the draftsmen, you need the people that sweep the floors, you need all those people, and that's not a slam on that personality. But if your ambition is to be a leader in the company or a leader in your industry or to be innovative or do that, then you have to take risks. You have to try things. You have to try new things. A lot of them won't work. And the important thing is you can't just go around, I've heard the term before, seagull management, where the boss sweeps in and dumps and leaves.
I have not heard that.
You haven't heard that term, so you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to leave a mess in your wake. You have to clean it up. So when you make a mistake, you have to fix your mistakes. That's the other thing my mother bought me. If you make a mess, you clean it up, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to do that. And that's and people will notice. And you don't have to be self-promoting or anything else. And that's the one thing I really love about AAON is people notice. The management at AAON pay attention to people, and they see people coming up, and there are people today at AAON that I say, they're probably going to run the company one of these days.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's because you can just tell because they've got it. They've got that attitude.
But it can be so hard to overcome this mindset of being afraid to fail. I feel like personally, when I look at failure, it's like a luxury I just can't afford sometimes, especially in today's economy. So I've admittedly played it safe in, my school choices, my career path. It could be hard to overcome that. So what kind of advice would you give to someone like me where it's like?
Well, my mantra from very early on when I was speaking in front of crowd, and I don't even remember who told me this, but was always, they can't eat you, right? So that's what always goes through my mind when I'm afraid to do something. Hey, I've done this before. Part of the reason that I've been able to be successful, I never felt like I left a company always left me. My father worked for the same little Coca-Cola bottling company in Southwest Missouri for 45 years until he took over from his father who'd done the same thing. Wow. And every time, and so that was my idea when I went to work for a company. I was going to work here the rest of my life. I was probably thinking I was going to run the place before I did. But I was going to work here the rest of my life. And I always felt like the company's left me. I didn't leave a company. So when that opportunity came, I never was afraid to move. And even when I came to work for Norm, I was almost 50 years old. I turned 50 when I was being director of engineering and general manager of the Canadian division. I was commuting to Canada every week.
Yeah.
And
I love that you say they can't eat you.
Yeah.
So when I moved to the U.S., I took a speech class, and the professor told me, "Don't worry, just imagine that everybody's naked."
Oh, God.
And I was like, "How is that going to make it any better?"
It makes it worse.
that would make it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like your better.
Yeah. Their other person, so just don't be afraid. I always knew that wherever I was, after a while, I had enough friends in the industry. I knew enough people, and it's very important to me to make those industry connections, get involved in your trade organization, meet people. I'm not a naturally extroverted person. I'm very introverted. I have a degree in physics. The personality goes with computer programmers and chemists and mathematicians. We don't look at somebody else's shoes in the elevator, but you can teach yourself out of that.
Sure.
But Tim Wentz, the former president of ASHRAE, one of his presidential themes was you have to be in the room. It's very important to engage with people. You make these friends. And so at some point in my career, I could make 3 phone calls and have a job. Now, I'd have to pack up my family and move across the country, but I could have a job. And I was never afraid to pack up and move across the country when it came that time to do that. And, if I look at my siblings, my 2 sisters, or my wife's two brothers, the thing that made the difference, we're probably the most successful of the children in the 2 family is financially successful.
Sure.
That's how you want to define it, or title-wise successful, however you want to define success. And part of it was that we picked up and moved when we needed to move, and went and took a risk and took a job.
Yeah, levels of priorities and what you feel comfortable with, too.
Right. And you're not going to get anywhere if you're comfortable.
Yeah.
You gotta push, And
I think that all goes back to culture, because Whitney and I talk a lot that one of the favorite things about working at AAON for us is the fact that we know that we can make a mistake. We know that if you took the right steps, you thought about it, my manager, Jeremy, will back me up. I know he will. So that culture of risk allows it a lot, and we have it at AAON.
Yeah, that's the innovative part. I always said when I came to work at AAON especially, but even until we got really big, it felt like you're working for a 30-year-old startup company. Like we started last week, and as a startup company, if you're starting a brand new business, you got to take risks. You're just, you're living from paycheck to paycheck. You're trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll this week. And AAON kind of always ran that way, even though we had tons of money in the bank. And I always said Norm ran AAON like a Montana farm, because that was his history.
Sure.
Like a mom and pop store.
A mom and pop store, and
But a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah, and proudly so.
But he loved buying equipment, wasn't afraid to invest in equipment.
Yeah.
But we were always, very conscious of overhead and things, all the things that you would be if you were starting up a little bitty company, and being one of the most profitable companies in the whole industry. It would have been easy to fall back another way, but that just wasn't his mentality. And he instilled that in everybody at AAON, and it's still there today. And so that innovation, that risk-taking thing is, and Norm was, he scared the heck out of everybody that worked for him because of the risk that he took. But,
I feel like risk is in our DNA at AAON.
Right. It is. And it's very, and it's how you get to be a big company. And I've worked at companies that took risks and companies that didn't take risks. And I'd have to say I've enjoyed working at AAON more than anywhere else. I've been there, I'll be almost 18 years. I would be 18 years this fall at AAON. And it's been the most enjoyable place because, every day you come in, it's a brand new world,
Yeah.
You may think you know what you're doing today.
Yeah, it changes.
But it'll change. And that's...
What do you think...
It's never boring.
No, it never is. As time has gone by, I have been at AAON for 12 years. How about yourself?
Almost 10.
Yeah. So throughout your career, how has AAON changed? Has it changed the culture?
We had a big cultural change transitioning from the founder, and that's always difficult because the founder typically is a micromanager or.
Think about some of the successful Apple founders.
There's Apple, Walmart, Microsoft, kind of all got started by these founders that very much controlled everything, and that guy typically can't step away. And Norm had a very Norm knew that he needed to step away at some point, and when he brought Gary Fields in, that didn't make it easy on him or Gary during that process. But Gary had a completely different management philosophy, still very, very risk taking, but very much empowering to the managers, and then but holding responsible. So, okay, I'm going to empower you to make all these decisions, but you're going to live with the consequences.
Yeah, it's on
you. And not being necessarily easy on you if the consequences weren't bad. I mean, not, he doesn't punish you for making a mistake, but you've got to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's your mess. You have to clean it up.
It's still fostering that culture that failure is okay.
But it's a different attitude.
Yeah.
And breaking that culture took about 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
but
we can't be $1 billion company.
You're right.
And be a micromanaged
and still
company.
be ran that way.
Norm was amazing. He micromanaged a $500 million
I know.
company. I don't know anybody.
You would see him in every department.
He walked the place every day, and he knew a little bit about everything that was going on in that company, and you just can't do that at some point. And you
get too big for it.
Get too big for it. Incorporating this institutional innovation or institutional attitude is one of the real challenges, and a lot of companies have a hard time doing that. If one of my favorite ones is IBM. So IBM, I don't think of today as a really innovative company. They're a huge corporation. They got a lot of bureaucracy. But their first CEO, a guy named Thomas Watson, said the best way to succeed is to double your failure rate. I was involved. I was a beta tester for Microsoft way back when, because I was a computer guy, right? I like technology. I like the gadgets. I always had the latest and greatest. I always had the beta copy of Microsoft Windows or something on my machine. And when I saw Microsoft after its innovative days, is they would start, somebody. And the nice thing about Microsoft as opposed to Apple is it was kind of an open architecture, so other third-party companies could write this thing. Maybe they'd write Word or they'd write a spreadsheet application. Then Microsoft would buy them, and then many times the company they bought they'd kind of destroy because they'd make them bureaucratic, and I see that so much even in our industry. Other people are acquiring companies. I mean, Tempmaster got acquired, and Tempmaster is not Tempmaster
anymore.
Not anymore.
Yes.
So,
and you have examples that are different too.
So they buy their innovation by acquisition. They buy companies that are innovative, and then they become not innovative. They have to buy more companies, and so. Us old guys around AAON don't want that to happen. How do we keep driving the innovation? There are people. I mean, Apple still is innovating products, and they're still doing that post Steve Jobs, and they figured out how to institutionalize some of it.
When AAON purchased Wattmaster back in 2018, we were a little bit afraid, are we going to become this big corporation or anything like that? Because they were our partners for many years, but we didn't know how.
Well, you knew we were crazy, though.
We did know that. I just didn't want to say it. Yeah. But they allow us to continue being who we were and being innovative. They just gave us the tool and the resources that we didn't have before for being a small company.
Yeah. Right. So that's the thing that you have to keep going. So I know there are some really good people there that. And a lot of us that grew up at AAON think the same way, and hopefully we're passing that on to the next generation because it's a fun place to work.
Well, if there is something at AAON is we take risk, we are persistent, which is a huge part of the equation, and we're very passionate for what we do. So it's hard to fail when you have those three things.
And Gary always says, and I can't repeat it, the 5 things, but one of them is. The last one is do the right thing. So always do the right thing. At the end of the day, you do the right thing for your customers. AAON wants to be the strategic partner with our customers and our rep. We don't want to be the salesperson that's going to walk away as soon as there's a problem.
No,
So
we're not that.
So how
it's very
can
important.
other companies adopt this like culture of innovation and not being afraid to fail?
I think it's part of your DNA. It depends on the people there and the people in charge, and it's got to come from the top. You can't push it from the bottom at all. And remembering your founder, remembering how you got to where you're at, and just trying to keep it alive, and most importantly, don't punish people for making the experimental mistakes.
Yes.
One of the things that always concerns me is, as you look at modern manufacturing, we have Lean Six Sigma, we have 99% defect free. That's all talking about that operational stuff. Don't try to take your laboratory and make it 99% defect free. And by the way, you start out talking about the space program. They made plenty of mistakes. That was a high risk thing. Failure was not an option, was a saying.
Yeah.
That was something that they wanted. That was a desire, not a sure thing, because that was big risk.
Yeah.
And whenever you're doing something that's never been done before, you're always taking a risk, and that's how you grow. That's one of the things that AAON has done in our industry on not space moonshot scale, probably, but many things we try and hasn't ever been done before. They're successful. That's part of what's led to AAON's success, and part of the reason that it pulls the people that want to work here. Either you can stand this environment or you can't stand this environment. If you need something very structured and very calm and very sedate, AAON's probably not the place for you.
Yeah.
I tell people that in job interviews.
As you grow in your career, making mistake at the beginning is natural, encouraged, welcome, because you find success that way, taking risk. I would imagine that it changes a little bit later, or maybe not, but do you have to be a little bit more vulnerable to make
Kind of like
mistake?
401k investments where you're like, you risk it in the early, when you get closer to retirement age, you're like, let me go a little bit on the safer side.
Yeah.
Well, that's the difference between me and my wife on our investment strategy.
You're still more risky.
I'm still more risky. So, you got to be willing to take a risk to make money. And
Are you still very risky in your career?
I don't know at this point there's much to risk.
Sure.
So actually, as you get more settled in your career, you're less worried. Like I said, I'm not worried about somebody firing me.
Yeah.
If you don't want me here, just tell me. I'll go.
Absolutely.
I'll go do something else. So I think that's somewhat liberating as you get older, and a lot of people are. The thing is, anywhere in your career, don't be so concerned about what others think of you that it keeps you from doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so I think taking risks and being willing to try something new is a culture that you develop in companies, or you develop personally for yourself. And
Excellent.
And it doesn't really leave you. It gets easier because you learn over time that they can't eat you, right?
No, they can't eat you.
Things won't always go right, and like I said, if you think you got something planned out, you're probably wrong. The universe has a different idea for you. Things are not going to happen.
So, do you have a favorite failure?
I don't know that I have a favorite failure. There are things that have happened to me in my lifetime that changed the course of my career, and I like to believe they always worked out for the best, probably because I didn't know what worked out otherwise. So, that's just an attitude that you have to take. So,
Can I tell you my favorite failure?
Yeah.
I wanted to share with you last time that you had a talk.
Right?
I have a lot of them, but I have one. So I'll do it really quick. But I'm an exchange student. I was an exchange student back in the day, and through the process of becoming an exchange student, you had to choose.
Wait, you weren't born in Kansas City?
I was not born in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm from Arkansas. Can't you tell from the accent? No, you had to choose the top 3 destination. And I really wanted to go to India or Nepal. So I put India number 1, Nepal number 2. And very clever as I was, I went around the room and see, okay, what are you going to put? Number 1 option by far was the US. So I was like, I'm going to put that as number 3 because they're not going to give it to me because everybody else is putting it as number 1. The process goes through. I get a letter of acceptance, and at the bottom it said destination Kansas City, Missouri. So that was my favorite failure because I came to the U.S. I love Kansas City. I love the people. I love the culture here in the U.S.
It all worked out for the best.
It all worked out for the best.
Because you don't know what had happened otherwise. Right?
Exactly. I would have been, I don't know, maybe a prince in India right now.
And now you're a Chiefs fan.
Now I'm a Chiefs fan.
So, yeah, I mean, it's part of life is understanding where you fit, what your personality is, what you like to do. And people are good at what they like to do. One of the first things that Gary did when he came into the company, and even though me and him had known each other our whole careers, he had me write down all the things I did and then put beside them, do I like doing that? Do I not like doing that? You know, and, you know, obviously I am the lab rat, the R&D guy. I hated figuring out how many dollars engineering process today or how much is going to ship tomorrow, those which were part of my job.
Sure.
And so next thing he came around, he says, okay, we're taking all these things that you don't like to do because you're probably, you know, you're willing to work hard enough to be competent at them, but you're not going to be great at them.
Sure.
You're just going to be competent. I'm going to put the minimum amount of effort to get the job done. I'm going to do a good job, but I'm not going to do any more than that because I don't like doing this because I want to go play in the lab. You know, I want to go play with the
Well,
toys.
they can't make it snow in there.
They can't make it snow in there. So, you know, so he took that away from me. Now, it kind of made me mad at the time because I thought he was taking me out of responsibility and demoting me.
Sure.
But it took me about a year to get over it. It's the nicest thing he ever did for me.
That's
But
awesome.
you know, and I've gone through that a couple of times with him. But he understood that, you know, he always says, I want to get the right people in the right seat on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes the bus has to stop and let somebody off.
Yes.
Because there isn't a seat for them in
Yep.
this company today. But, you know, getting the people in the right place and understanding what you like to do, where your talents are, and maneuvering yourself into that job is really part of the key to this success. And one of the things that I like to do is go out and tell stories and talk to people and educate people and mentor people. And the things that I'm proudest of in my career is not the things I've done, it's the people that I've helped develop, hopefully. And you never really know.
Winning through others. I think that's cool.
But you know, it's just, you know, I'm very proud of a lot of people, you know, that have worked for me somewhere along the line, and hopefully I had some influence on them or allowing them to get somewhere, letting them make some mistakes and not chewing on them, but making sure they cleaned up their own mess.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, really quick, do you want to share with us what your next step in your career is?
My next step is I'm retiring this summer officially from AAON. It's time, you know, for me to retire, and me and my wife would like to travel a little more, you know, have some work-life balance that we've never really had. But I'm retiring, not dying. So I'm still, you know, I'm going to consult for AAON. I'm going to keep doing my ASHRAE DL talks. I'm just going to drop from I did 24 last year. I've got 25 booked for this year. And I'm probably going to drop to 8 or 9 a year, just because I'm just going to try to do like 1 a month rather than 3 a month during the winter time. So, and keep involved in, you know, ASHRAE and some other things, and do some volunteer things that I don't have time that I haven't had time to do. But like I said, I'm still going to be around. I'm still want to keep involved. But there are many. I mean, like I said, I'm very proud of the team that have taken all my jobs that were all my jobs. I mean,
so you can do what you really enjoy.
Yeah, you know, I you know, what I originally did at AAON's been replaced by about 5 different people. It isn't that it took 5 people to do what I did. It's that they're doing a 5 times better job, or probably a 10 times better job than what I did at it, because they can focus on it. But but hopefully that I started a lot of things at AAON that, I started manufacturing engineering. I started some government affairs stuff. I started several things that Norm really wasn't too interested in at the time because I thought they needed to get done.
Yeah.
And now they're part of the institution. So
Awesome. Well, Mark, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for your time. And I'm glad that you're going to be still around for a while. You're retiring, not dying.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to close it up with one question: what is AAON to you?
AAON to me is a great group of people that really are not afraid to go out and take risks. I mean, that's the
Amen.
really important things. And it's very much a family that, it's hard to be friends with people that report to you, but there is some level that you can do that. And as much as you can, I had a boss one time that told me that we're all one big happy family is a myth for management, but and that to a certain extent there is true because you may have to let that person go at some point, and that's part of the nasty part of being a manager is you have to make those hard decisions. But we really are, and one of the things that I always loved about AAON that I don't think will stop, and something that Norm always believed in, regardless of the economy or how bad things got, he never cut short the innovation. Making
Absolutely.
new products. Matter of fact, he put the pedal to the metal.
More. Yep.
More. Because when the market dips or when times are tough, that's when a company like AAON can take market share.
Yeah.
By coming out with something new, differentiating ourselves from the other guys. We're not, people aren't studying about who's the cheapest and who can get it to me the fastest anymore. They're wanting to do who can do the best job. I need value in that product. And the thing that I really like about AAON is, it's innovative and it's value focused. It's about what is the right thing to the job. We do not want to sell none of the equipment. Will we go to a customer and say, this is the perfect solution for every opportunity you can have. We have the solution for certain opportunities and here how we can do the best job you can possibly do for this type of system.
Awesome. Well, again, Mark, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you for
sure
being
we're going to
here.
invite you again.
Yeah.
We would love to talk a lot more of the stories.
You're retiring, not dying.
Exactly. And we can edit this so you can tell us all the story
Yeah.
and we can just edit it out.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much.
you.
To our audience, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned, stay informed, stay curious, and don't be afraid to fail.
Go fail.
Go fail. Whitney, say bye.
Bye.